Okay, welcome everyone, and I'm going to make sure that one of the co-hosts will be letting in people, maybe Sheena or Lisa. Thank you. I'm Diane McGackran. I'm out here at the Kuskokwim campus, and I'm chair of the University of Alaska Fairbanks Kuskokwim Campus Academic Director Search Committee. And I welcome you to this online event. Just a few little housekeeping things. Please keep yourself muted, and note that this presentation is being recorded, and the link will be sent out to you for both the recordings of both candidates. And although we hope you'll use the Zoom chat feature during question and answer, we will not respond to any comments or questions during the candidate's presentation. Finalists for the Kuskokwim Campus Director will give a 30-minute public presentation. The focus for the candidate will be on the vision for the campus and what experiences and abilities they bring to lead the campus in that direction. Furthermore, it should demonstrate the candidate's ability to organize their time, present material clearly, and engage effectively with the audience. A 15-minute question and answer session will follow the presentation. Audience members, you'll be asked to complete an online feedback form for each candidate. Faculty, staff, and students are strongly encouraged to fill out those forms and upload and send them in. A link to the online feedback form will be posted in the Zoom chat today, a little bit later. So you'll have that, and it'll also be available to you at with the candidate information at the Kuskokwim campus website, and you'll get other links for these. So this event then is part of the process of UAF, College of Rural and Community Development, to give broader public feedback on candidates applying for the campus director position. Before getting to this stage, both candidates had to successfully navigate 2 screening interviews. The screening committee was made up of university employees and community members. And at this time, we'd like to acknowledge the committee and the many hours of time and energy that were given to this process, to facilitate this process. So there's Sheena Tanner, who's the fiscal manager for CRCD, Brian Bluehorse, who's the interim director at the Interior Alaska campus, myself as a professor of rural human services at the Kuskokwim campus, Katie Reardon, assistant director at Kuskokwim campus, and Kathy Neneman, head of social services for the Association of Village Council Presidents, or AVCP. The hiring authority for this position will be with the Vice Chancellor, Charlene Stern, and she is the Vice Chancellor for Rural, Community, and Native Education. And Dr. Stern will take into consideration the recommendations of the committee and your feedback. So at this time, I'm pleased to introduce one of the candidates is Ms. DeShan Foret. And DeShan, in the chat, I will let you know when you have 10 minutes left on the clock, and your time starts now. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much for that start, and just good morning, everyone. So nice to have you here. Thank you for being here. And I'm going to share my screen. So let me go ahead and do that. So in order to start today, I'd like to start in a good way. And that's by acknowledging the location and cultural setting of where I'm sitting, and which is the UAF Kuskokwim campus in Bethel. And the Kuskokwim campus sits on this land where for thousands of years to the present day, the people of this region, the Yupik and Chupik people of this region, have extended their care and stewardship to the land, resources, cultural traditions, cultural values, art, and language preservation. And I'd also like to say this land acknowledgement not just is historical, but also extends to current day and ongoing contributions of people of this region to ongoing cultural and language preservation. And then as I'm sitting here too, and I think about a land acknowledgement, I'd also just like to acknowledge the full extent of our campus. So where I am, I'm in the Maggie Lynn building, the main campus. And yet our campus also includes a residential building, the Sackett Hall, our cultural center, UP Cultural Center, our Kuskokwim Consortium Library. And so this is who we are. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just stop share for a second. Okay, great, because then this way I can kind of see everyone a little bit better. So for the next few minutes as I begin, I'd like to take a moment and just tell you a little bit more about who I am, some of my background, and also some of the things that I feel like from a life experience, my own personal experience, has informed me and also my motivation for applying for this position as director. So my family is, my father is from Louisiana and my last name is Foret. It's a French last name. My father's Cajun French. He very much identifies with a Cajun French background. And my mother was originally from Oklahoma, Jane Foret. And she originally from Oklahoma, and I also have a brother who lives in Oklahoma. And so when thinking about, higher education, I always like to think about my mother, because my mother at the age of, in her late 30s, went back to college. And at the age of 40, then graduated, received her undergraduate degree. And I remember growing up and seeing her as a teenager, her commitment to education, her interest, and also the sacrifices that she made to attain that degree as an adult learner, a single parent, which I think really made an impact on me. So I won't go through all my life history. That wouldn't be very interesting. I do want to just touch on a couple of things that I feel have impacted me. So if you were to ask me, I would say that I feel very fortunate that I even got to college. I did graduate from my own state university, University of Oklahoma, in 1994. And my first year of college was very overwhelming for me. I felt definitely a big gap between my high school preparation and my first college courses. And yet through support from friends, family, saw my way through that. And I really have a lot of gratitude for that first step of my undergraduate. Now, in a moment, I'm going to share, I've gone on in my education. I do have a master's in public health and a master's in social work. But that undergraduate degree is so meaningful for me because there was a part of me that really thought I could never kind of get there. And it was such a big deal once I did accomplish that. After college, after that undergraduate experience, I did go into Peace Corps. And so Peace Corps is a part of our United States Service Volunteer Corps. And I served 2 years in Peace Corps as a volunteer and English teacher in an elementary school in the country of Hungary in Eastern Europe. And when I went through the process of being placed in my assignment in Peace Corps, as a volunteer, you're allowed to give input where you'd like to be. And I said, send me as far from the city as you can. Send me way off. So I landed in a site where I was near the Ukraine and Romanian border in a smallish town. And that experience was really what kind of opened my eyes to systems and systems change, and also disenfranchised populations. So in that area of Hungary, there is a large population of Roma people who were disenfranchised, who not have access to services. And it was that experience there that really led me to public health. To really say, are there ways that we can change systems that improve people's lives? So let me say a little bit about my formal education in public health and social work. So I've been working in public health for over 20 years. And I got my master's in public health from the Tulane School of Medicine and Tropical Health in New Orleans. And my focus for my public health degree was international public health and mental health service delivery. And then just most recently, I completed my Master of Social Work degree through the University of Alaska Anchorage. So where I'm sitting now is the Kuskokwim campus, where I'm currently employed as a wellness counselor and a part-time faculty, social science faculty in the RHS, Rural Human Services and Human Services cohorts. And this current position at KuC has really given me the opportunity to experience, because it's a hybrid position, it's given me the opportunity to experience both staff and faculty responsibilities, which I think is also very beneficial as I step forward in my application of a director, to see both of those aspects on this campus. So even though I'm here currently in Bethel, I worked many years ago in Bethel. So many years ago, from about 2000, 2005, I was employed at the Yukon Kuskokwim Health Corporation, where I worked in the health education program. And then went on, got other training, left Bethel, and then came back for this position last year. And when working at our local health corporation, the health education program from 2000, 2005, that experience, I worked very closely with schools, village councils, local organizations, and it gave me the experience of traveling throughout the Waikiki Delta, working very closely with village councils, developing regional relationships. And during that time, I supervised a team of village-based health educators from the region, about 7 to 10, a team of 7 to 10 educators. So I also want to say a little bit, in speaking about my qualifications, I want to say a little bit also about my own experience in higher education. So prior to taking this position on the Kuskokwim campus, I worked at the University of Vermont in their Center for Children, Youth, and Families, where I was a wellness coach and also a program developer. And that experience at UVM helped me gain experience working in higher education. And also I worked closely with a residential life program that focused on a wellness environment, where we're closely on helping design, implement, and even provide services for that wellness residential life program. Okay, so that's a little bit about me and some of my experience and some of the things that informed and impact my view of higher education and my motivation for sitting here in front of you all today. So I want to go back to sharing screen now. So let me do that. I want to show you some slides that I've help guide the conversation. So again, this is who I am, DeShan Foret. And when thinking about speaking with you all today, I thought, what is it I want to share about my motivation? And, this director position is not something that one person can take on. And it requires collaboration and input from faculty, staff. And what my counseling and public health background has given me is to be a listener, to communicate, a desire to communicate, hear what challenges are, and better understand the difficulties in meeting the needs of students, and taking the time to build relationships and work together. And I'd also say, additionally, this approach of leadership has been informed by my time here in Bethel and in this region, where I've witnessed and also been deeply impacted and educated by Yupik and cultural values of listening, patience, connection, and value of people, people and relationships, and also this value of encouragement to lift the human spirit, which I really feel that we do so well at KuC for our students. So when thinking about leadership, I pulled this quote from an article and talking about diversifying leadership, particularly in multicultural perspectives, and this idea of servant leadership, where leadership is not top-heavy. It's something that's actually a tool used to improve the lives of all in our community. So when I think about leadership as a tool, as a way to improve our community environment, and as employees, we are here a lot. As faculty, we are here a lot. And some of the ways I know to do, or some of the ways I know to cultivate this idea of collaboration, are some of these leadership values. And that would be transparency. And when I think about transparency, I think about conceptualizing goals and priorities that are clear, that are communicated, and that ensure that we're all working together for the same KuC goal, for the success of our staff, faculty, and students. And one way to do this idea of transparency in creating some clarity for all of us as we go through our academic year is all campus meetings where we can share priorities and goals and information. And I want to back up for just a second too, because when I think about leadership really as a tool within a community, I also want to just say for a moment that the director position on our campus, my goal would be to be accessible, trustworthy, not critical, able to give helpful feedback and guidance. And, you know, our faculty here are so strong, and we have such an opportunity to create really a collaborative process where ideas and proposals are vetted by faculty, supported by faculty, in a mission of shared governance. And then also our staff to engage in their input, ask for their input, collaborative problem solving, and a collaborative programmatic design. And my primary position would be to be one of support needed for faculty and staff to perform their jobs. So when I think about leadership values, I also think of making meaning. And what we do on our college campus at KuC has great meaning. Our students tell us that. In fact, the advantage of our smaller setting allows us to really speak with students, understand what's going on with students, take into account their needs, and to be supportive to them. So what we do on this campus does have meaning, and it impacts the lives of our students, and it impacts their experience with education. And our students' stories and lives matter. And those priorities that we set as a campus, the positions, even the positions we create and the programs we offer have meaning. So let me give an example here too, is as a campus community, it's helpful to understand when we make decisions, the meaning that gives to our students. Now, let's keep in mind, we're all still and currently in COVID. Of course, we're doing our best to cope and to live with still this ongoing pandemic. And yet, over the last few weekends, our campus has had a couple of weekend events that have been so inspirational. We had Gus Buck making workshop here last weekend. Before that, the Neskun, the headdress sewing. And this was so, you could already feel on our campus that this brought back so much energy. So the priority of reviving a robust focus on traditional cultural practices, events for our students, such as yuhak, traditional Yupik dance, beading, sewing clubs, are such an emotional boost to our students. And it relays our values and meaning to students. And then I think another value, a leadership value, is prioritizing community relationships. So people are valuable. All of us are valuable. And prioritizing relationships, investing in personal development of staff and faculty is really important. And this value of people then extends to how we onboard new employees, how we meet with seasoned staff to hear how they're doing in their positions, what opportunities for growth, what opportunities for education are they interested in, and what are their personal and professional interests. And then also creating avenues for input from faculty, again, this collaborative shared governance spirit. And I think another value for leadership that I would hope to bring forward is delegation and systems. So with a background in public health and social work, I like systems and people. That's how I think. And I think sometimes I have to be careful with systems, because systems, just talking about systems, can get dry. That's why it's really important to remember the people and the relationships that we work with. But when I do think about delegation, there's also something here from a leadership perspective that's important. And that's empowering people in their roles and their positions. And as humans, we need meaning in our work and the feeling of satisfaction in contributing to the campus community in our roles. And the acknowledgement of each individual's expertise, skills, and gifts are important to empower professionals. And advocacy and partnerships. So this campus is situated here in Bethel in the YK Delta, in a larger region, a larger state, and within a larger university system. Our relationships and partnerships are really important. And for each of us at KuC, we have a part in building these relationships. You know, just recently, our advisors have had the opportunity to go back to doing some recruitment out in the village. And you can just see how important that is. So we all, every one of us here, staff, faculty, we all have a role in building relationships, the village and regional level, within the community, within our larger CRCD hub, and within UAF structure. So this is our mission statement. And as I move now, I want to talk a little bit more, just in these last few minutes. I want to talk about possible direction focus forward. So in preparation for this presentation, I was really listening to people, how they spoke about KuC. And KuC in this community has a very good reputation. It's known for a place where people want to work. It's known for a place where employees and staff stay for a very long time. They enjoy working here. So that's a real boon for us. That's a real place for us to grow. And so even within our own KuC mission, our desire, our mission is to create an active and relevant learning environment. And our vision is also to give our students the wisdom to learn. And when I hear those things, what I hear is giving wisdom to learn, helping students navigate this system called higher education while maintaining their sense of self, culturally, holistically, of who they are as they go through this environment and system. So we do have a strategic plan. We have a good place for growth. I also will say too, as we move forward, and I'll just speak in the last few minutes about a few ideas as we go forward, we're in a good place with KuC. You know, our past interim directors, Linda Curta, our current interim director, Julie Carpenter, and our assistant director, Katie Reardon, have really worked hard to apply and receive grant funding. And we have many great positions right now being posted that can strengthen our campus. So these are the strategic goals. This is the strategic plan for UAF. I pulled out a few of these that I think are particularly things I've been thinking about. And so when I think about this first goal of modernizing the student environment, how do we provide a meaningful and culturally strong college experience for students, for our KuC students? And so I think that would be looking at more of how we manage our college success services. How do advisors, college success coordinator, and faculty all collaborate for the success of the student? Is there an opportunity also to provide more service and engaged learning for students? So this might be internships. You know, the other day I met with a couple of KuC students before the semester ended, and I came to find out that they were very interested in computers and technology. And then I'm thinking, is there an opportunity for them to shadow? Is there an opportunity for them to intern and get credit for that, for an active and engaged learning environment? And to keep an eye also on courses where we know students do not do well. Our students report having a lot of trouble with asynchronous learning, especially freshman students. So are there ways that we can intervene when we know students are struggling with a certain course delivery? And then ongoing conversation about a retention pathway for freshmen, especially their first year of college, where students can acclimate, have support, understanding about homesickness. So there's an opportunity there. And as it's happening now, our campus with our Sackett Hall Residential Live is rebuilding. It's getting stronger. More applicants and students are coming in wanting to live in our residential life facility. And then to strengthen ourselves as global leaders in Alaska Native and Indigenous programs, we have Yupik language expertise. We currently have a position, a Yupik culture and arts coordinator. I'm not sure of the exact title, but something like this. So what are the opportunities to weave Indigenous knowledge within our wellness programming? And also models that work for our students, low residency cohort models of learning. Can we expand that? And is there a possibility of creating immersion programs in Yupik language, arts, ethnobotany, our specialties? And then here, I think this is very important to land here, is this idea and this goal of embracing and growing culture, respect, diversity, inclusion, and caring. So can our environment incorporate more signage, art that reflects our culture in this region? And then ongoing engaged conversations on diversity, cultural sensitivity, and creating models of care in higher education. And actively recruiting and hiring a diverse workforce and faculty. So I'll just land here as I wrap up, is that when thinking about an environment, a campus community where learning is healing, we all have a part. So I'll just say that our faculty, their input, our staff, their commitment and input, our connection with CRCD, our larger UAF structures are very powerful, and to stay connected in that way and to build on those connections. Okay. So I thought I had less time. I said 3 minutes. Okay, so I think I have my last minute. So let me just see if there's anything I missed. So I just really want to land here on this idea of connections and building our community stronger in that way. And then lastly, let me say, since I'm speaking to colleagues and fellow faculty, I do want to be very clear on one thing, is that even though I'm applying for this position, my real goal is to be in support of KuC and our students. I love working here. So no matter whoever the campus director is, I am there in full support. And I really would like that. I wanted to say that because I think it's very important. Okay, so I'm going to stop share. And I believe it's amazing how fast 30 minutes goes.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop there, and I think Diana will now have an opportunity for questions.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much for your presentation, DeShan, and audience, people online. You can use the raise your hand emoji if you'd like to ask a question. You can also put your question in the chat, and I'd be happy to read that question out for you if you prefer that. So we'll go ahead and just open it up for questions, and remember to unmute yourself when you have a question. Usually takes a few seconds for people to generate their question.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so Sean Russell, go ahead.
Hi, DeShan. I want to thank you for your presentation, and I really appreciated your specificity related to our campus, and I liked how you talked about how you want to be as a leader, and then also kind of your vision for the future of KuC, kind of your priority areas that you would like to focus on. So I thought that was really helpful. And then, as you know, I work in allied health, and health programs are very important to me. I'm very passionate about it. And I'm also very passionate about distance delivery modalities. And with your personal background, your academic background in health yourself, I'm wondering both where health programs are concerned, and then more broadly in our campus, kind of what your priorities might be, even more specifically than what you've already talked about. Because as you know, with allied health, KuC has a very large allied health student body. And I do also want to clarify that for many students, asynchronous education does work really well, because we do have a lot of asynchronous allied health students at KuC, and they are very successful, and they are all kinds of students. They come from different regions, but we do have primarily non-traditional students. We have a lot of students from all over rural Alaska. So in many cases, asynchronous education works really well. And in health programs, it has worked really well. And I know, we've had a kind of a hope to build in-person allied health at KuC. So that's kind of, I guess, what I'm wondering about is programmatically what your areas of, now that you've had a chance to kind of get to know our campus and work here a while, what do you see as the future for areas where you'd like to kind of focus or maybe build a little bit at KuC?
Yeah, Sean, thank you for that. And what I'm really appreciating too is that catch about asynchronous learning, because I know your caliber of teaching, and I know your commitment to students. And I think it's just a really good catch that, yeah, asynchronous across the board. I mean, I actually know many KuC students who really prefer that because it works with their work schedule. And so I just really appreciate you catching that. And then when I think, allied health, again, we're in a good position with all the work from our interim directors we have an allied health faculty position that's been posted. And health is a major revenue stream in this region and throughout Alaska. And I think what we keep doing is we keep building partnerships within our own region, and even ask employers, you know, what skills do people need? How do we keep partnering with different organizations to provide those skills that they identify as needed in their workforce? And I think allied health and healthcare are really a part of that. I think also too, you know, because I'm just thinking here to really acknowledge on our campus, our UAF campus, that this UAF campus also houses UAA programs. We have a UAA nursing program, which is very strong. And we have a UAA ANSEP program here. So that, you know, the UAF campus also is a hub and has those other programs here too. And I think the last thing I'll say, Sean, is just some thinking here. You know, part of this is brainstorming and thinking. This is why this is such a collaborative effort for our campus of how we want to move forward. And I'm just thinking, you know, with APU's LPN program that's recently been, will start soon, and that APU's collaboration with Ute, Vietnamvit, the technical entity in Bethel, is as programs develop to be at the table to continue to say, well, okay, what could we provide? Are there prerequisites? Are there other things that we might provide to support these other programs? Okay, so I think, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments for Ms. Foret? Tyson? Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you very much for your presentation today. I've appreciated you being here. I'm the off-campus services librarian here at UAF. So my job has largely been to try to work with our off-campus students and connect them with the resources that are here at Rasmussen Library. And so I guess two questions I've got maybe. One, I wanted to know a little bit about your thoughts about the value of the library in education and for our students. And also maybe if you could speak to the value of having faculty librarians working in libraries.
Yeah, you know, thank you very much. And I think our own librarian, Teresa Quiner, she's not on here, would really appreciate you bringing that up. So thank you. So, you know, I love that you asked value, because the value is great. You know, our own consortium library here, Teresa Quiner has her master's in library science, and I believe that's correct. I know she's officially library, and also teaches information services and different courses for our campus. So we're really in quite a privileged situation here to have this consortium library that's so close and so well staffed. So it's a great value to our campus. And I think the other thing, your question that brings to my mind is, you see, in this 30-minute presentation, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to share, knowing that I'm going to miss things. And I think what your question also really highlights is how the director does need to be aware of all of the parts. And I do think sometimes, you know, with our library, sometimes because it's not directly connected to our main building, it may be out there. So how do we continue to bring people in the programs? And, you know, our consortium library also does wonderful programs for the community. They're our connection to the community. So they're not only providing services to our KuC students, they're not only offering courses, but they're also the connection to the community. And I think to continue to foster that would be really important.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did Tyson, you have anything else? Was there a follow-up? Because I saw you on mute. Okay.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. And yeah, my wife was actually the director of the Bethel Library. We lived there at Bethel in about 2002 through about 2005. So I've lived in campus housing and worked with Extension Service and recognize a few faces, although a lot of people have changed over the last 20 years. But,
Wow, great, thank you.
Sean, you had your hand up again?
I've
ahead,
got
Sean.
another question for you. Okay, unless anybody else has one, I don't want to dominate the mic, but I guess I was just wondering, it seems to me that the most difficult aspect of this role is the function of navigating across, not the community, I mean, navigating across the community is difficult, but to me what seems might be most challenging would be navigating across our university units and having to kind of go to bat for the campus and the faculty, working with strong personalities with differing viewpoints sometimes. And I think, you know, being with the university for a long time myself, I think it takes a very long time to kind of learn the ropes of the university and kind of understand our hierarchy or our silos, or, you know, to kind of understand how our complicated system functions. And so I'm wondering for yourself, I have gotten a chance to see how you problem solve and see how you diplomatically communicate in difficult situations. So I have appreciated that. And I wonder, for you being kind of relatively new to such a complicated system, I wonder kind of what would be your lifeline or your support system, or how would you kind of grow and develop in your ability to understand, again, such a complicated system to have to navigate within.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that, because I feel like it's very true. And you know, I think one of the things you said about going to bat, do you feel like a part of the director position, of course, is advocacy for our campus? I'm also thinking, as you're speaking, my mind went to also, you know, our rural campus is connected to other rural campuses. And I think we have a real opportunity to learn from our fellow rural campuses and to be in touch with them and to build that relationship. Now, I will say currently in my role, I haven't really had much experience with that. Most of my experience has been really building connections with CRCD and UAF. But I think, so my mind goes there, is we're not an island. Sometimes it feels like that in a rural campus, but we are connected. And so how do we learn and take experience from rural campus? How do we also use our internal expertise? We have, you know, KuC has staff and faculty who've stayed here for a very long time. We have expertise here. And to tap into that, ask questions. I think one of the things, though, ultimately, Sean, is I like to ask questions. I don't really assume I know too much. And I like to ask for input. I like to ask the history of things. Even, you know, in the short time on this campus, I've had several meetings with people on campus to just ask, well, what's been your experience working at KuC? What other programs have you been involved in? And I think that's how we kind of gather ourselves and build that information, by asking. And I think you're absolutely right. It's a complicated system, but we also have really great leadership. You know, Vice Chancellor Stern gives us wonderful leadership. And I think ultimately, I would have to be someone, if I step into this position, that would need mentorship. I would need guidance. And I would need to ask for that as a condition of taking the position, that would have to be acknowledged.
All right, thank you. Nikolai.
Koyana, thank you for your presentation, DeShan. So I want to touch back on the, you talked a little bit about when you worked in the Peace Corps and there was a community that you worked in that was disenfranchised. I think that when you look at the landscape here in Bethel, with the economy here and the price of everything in this community, including the homes, which, you know, they're single family homes that go for $500,000. And so a lot of our workforce in education, in healthcare, a lot of them are imported. And so with all the influx of the new people coming in, it kind of leaves no space for those of us who live here, who grew up here, who want to stay here. But because of our access, you know, limited access to education for different reasons, whether it be internet issues or, you know, all of those issues that I know you're well aware of, and that we're well aware of here in the rural community. So our main industries in our communities are education, healthcare, and management, because we do have tribes and we do have municipal governments. And so one of the things that I noticed in my years here is the lack of I guess, access to and availability of programs that teach us how to do tribal management that are aimed at non-traditional students, because a lot of people who need to develop their skills, their management skills, are working individuals. They have families. They're probably in their late 30s, like your mother was. But the university system here in Alaska, especially, it caters to traditional students, and that's another barrier of access. And so the other thing that I noticed in your talking about engagement with community leaders and organizations, when I worked there at the campus in Bethel, one of the glaring things that I noticed was that as Yupik people, our language and our culture is the strongest within the state of Alaska, probably within the country, because we do have a lot of individuals who still have Yupik as a first language. And so one of the things that I noticed was that there weren't any benchmarks in the university system that are within the Yupik language realm. So there weren't things that Yupik language speakers could do in the university to get all of those letters behind their names, so that it makes them more desirable for employment. And I noticed that organizations like CVRF, which is Coastal Villages Region Fund, AVCP, the Lower Yukon School District, and Chalista even, through their Dungalini program, was bypassing KuC. They brought all their programs to Anchorage. Are there things that are in your long range plan where you say, hey, we're over here, we're in Bethel, we're local, come to us. Don't go to UAA, don't go all the way to Fairbanks. Work with us here in Bethel. Are there things in your plan that are going to address those different situations? Thanks.
Yeah, Nikolai, thank you, Guyana. Okay, so I feel like you brought up so many good points, and here's where my mind goes as you spoke. First of all, I really appreciate all that you said, and I think also from what I heard you say too was, how can KuC also continue to foster hire, retain, promote Yupik people in this region to work here, be part here. And I think this would be a very important goal. So how do we continue to hire, retain, promote diverse workforce and faculty on this campus? And you know, you mentioned tribal governance, and I think one thing about that too is, yeah, I think we do have a struggle with continuing to cater to what a traditional student would look like. And I think there's a part for that. I think there's a place for that. Building our residential lives so students really have a strong college experience. And who are we missing? That's what I keep thinking. That's what really, when I was preparing for this, is like, who are we missing? How are we missing them? What's the barrier to getting them back, or even engaging them? And I will say, from tribal governance, some of the work that I know our assistant director has been doing is doing an audit of seeing how students have gotten so many credits, but it doesn't then result into a degree. And I think that's very much a history and experience with people in this region, even working in health corporations and organizations, so much training, and what's it add up to? So I think we have a real opportunity there to see students are working so hard, and are they getting where they want to get to? And your question about how do we engage instead of this programs moving elsewhere, how do we get programs back here? I'm going to say right now, I don't have a good answer to that. But I think your question's valuable, and I think it's an ultimate question that we, on our faculty and staff, and through guidance within our larger UAF structure, we have to seriously think about. How can we regain and build partnerships so that programs do land here? And I think we have a real potential for that. Okay, I feel like I didn't cover everything, but those were the things that came to my mind. And I want to be mindful of time here, Diane. I feel like I've taken a little extra time. I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. Thank you. I mean, these are very thoughtful questions, and thank you everyone for asking them, and also for showing up and viewing DeShan's presentation. And the link for this presentation will be sent out to you along with the feedback form link that some of you may already have, because it was with the registration for this online event. So thank you very much, and hope everyone has a wonderful morning and afternoon. Thank you.
There's
Thank you.
another question in the chat.
Oh,
Well, we don't have time for any more questions, so I'm sorry. We won't be able to take the question that's in the chat at this time. I'm not sure who asked that. Who mentioned, was that Lisa? No.
No, that wasn't me, but we are at time, so.
Yeah. So we're not really allowed to go further.
Thank
So
you,
I
everybody.
apologize. Thank you.
Lisa, would you mind pasting the link to the form again in the chat?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, Lisa, that was right. That was going to go in the.
I can pull that up.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to paste the link for the Kuskokwim Campus website, because that's where the recordings will be, as well as the
feedback form link.
feedback form. Yeah. So,
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, DeShan.
okay, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.